Want an unfair advantage to dominate your fantasy football league? Look no further and download SquadQL, the only mobile app you need to crush your friends and rivals. SquadQL recommends the best starting lineup for each week based on your starters, bench players, and free agent pool. SquadQL provides waiver and trade recommendations too. Go to SquadQL to download SquadQL for free. SquadQL is brought to you by the creators of RotoQL, the leading daily fantasy optimizer trusted by 100,000 DFS players. Whether you ride a bike, a bronc, or a skateboard, Wrangler jeans are for you. Classic or modern styles, a range of fits, all price points, vintage re-releases, Wrangler has something for everyone. Visit Wrangler.com and check out their selection of jeans, shirts, and outerwear for men and women. New styles, great fits, Wrangler. Real, comfortable jeans. What is up? Welcome to another edition of the NFL Fantasy Live podcast. It's me, your man, MG, Marcus Grant, alongside the Fantasy Hall of Famer, Michael Fabiano. And Fabs, it's a big one to start week 4.
Yeah, dude. I mean, like, I've been doing shows all over the network talking about this game, and it's like, who do you sit? Well, I don't think really you sit anybody. Like Vikings defense, you know, Sam Ficken. I mean, like, you don't sit anybody in that game.
No, pretty much.
Anybody.
It's hard. It's pretty hard to sit because you got two great teams in the Vikings and Rams. Their offenses are fantastic. Their defenses are generally pretty good. This is the kind of Thursday night game that I think people have been clamoring for. So we finally got it on tap.
Should be fun.
We'll talk about that plenty more. First, though, behind the glass, as always, is our producer, Senior Edward L. Murphy, Esquire. Murph, what's up?
Like you guys just said, I'm super jacked up for tonight's game. Rams-Vikings should be a good one. It's a great little midweek treat. We have a really good guest coming up later in the show, too. Excited for that. So today's a pretty good day.
Yeah, absolutely. As I mentioned, plenty of stuff to talk about. As Eddie just mentioned, I might as well say Derrius Guice. Rookie
Derrius Guice, that's right.
He will be on the show. He'll be joining us in just a little bit to talk about his situation, his knee rehab. Of course, missing the full year, unfortunately. Was injured during the preseason, but we'll talk to him about how things are going in that respect. So, of course, we'll go through all the Week 4 games that are on tap. Eddie's got his Delirious pick, and we'll go to the mailbag and get some of your tweets as well. But first, let's do some news.
Let's do the news.
We'll start in Philadelphia. Eagles wide receiver Alson Jeffery has returned to practice. He has been out because of a shoulder injury, and we were for a while wondering when he was going to be cleared for contact, when he was going to come back to play. And still not sure if he'll be back this week for the Eagles in their game against the Tennessee Titans. But, Fabs, it's got to be encouraging, at least, that he's getting closer to coming back.
Yeah, I mean, cleared for contact, that's big because there's a lot of contact in football the last time I checked. Although some of the rules may want to sort of eliminate that. That's an entirely different podcast.
Talk to Clay Matthews.
I think exactly right. But, yeah, this is good news. It's not good news if you have Nelson Aguilar. And if you look at the numbers, last season we saw that Alson Jeffery, led the team in targets, led the team in catches and receiving yards and touchdowns. And I think Aguilar could see his targets scaled back just a little bit. And also Carson Wentz coming back too. Last week, didn't put up a great stat line first game back, but now he'll get Alson Jeffery back. Maybe not this week, but very soon. He's got Aguilar. He's got Zach Ertz. Dallas Goedert to sort of make an impact as well. So things are looking up for the Eagles offense and the players on that team.
Yeah, I'm very curious. Like, this is an offense that I just have not been able to figure out. Like, it's been up and down, and maybe because they haven't had all their pieces there yet.
Did you hear about Jay Ajayi has got like a cracked bone in his back? Like, that doesn't sound good at all. Like, he practiced on Thursday, but cracked bone in your back.
That seems unpleasant.
That's like a pain tolerance thing, and I'm a baby. I would cry all day long if I had a cracked bone in my back. It just sounds like it hurts like hell. So that now is a question mark in terms of whether or not you can play him or not. And Titans, ooh, man, that's tough.
It's interesting, too, because, you talk about the cracked bone in his back, but he also had, knee issues coming out of college. I mean, that was something that concerned people when he came out of Boise State because he was having, kind of knee issues and that sort of thing. So I don't know. I mean, if he's there, you got to at least consider him, depending on what your options are. But, man, that's concerning. The Patriots say they are not worried about Josh Gordon catching up, and he's been kind of working through his own injury issues. Didn't play last week, obviously, but potentially getting ready to play this week. Simple question. If Josh Gordon is on the field for the Patriots, do you start him this week?
I don't know that he's anything more than a flex. We'll see what happens here. And you also worry about that dreaded snap count, although the last time he was on a snap count, he played 69 snaps. That was for the Browns. But do keep this in mind. The New England Patriots own the Dolphins in New England. Own them. Like, in their last 9 games, they've averaged like 31 points a game. So if Gordon does get in there, he's got to be in the flex starter conversation because based on just that trend, and I like to look at that stuff, the Patriots are going to put up a lot of points this weekend.
Yeah, it should be interesting. Look, we'll get to the Patriots a little because I have questions about them. We'll get to them a little bit later when we start to do our preview for the week. But, man, there are some things about them that kind of concern me. So we got plenty to talk about. So, that pretty much is all the news you need to know.
That was the news.
Oh, by the way, just a quick note. The thing that just came across Twitter as we were playing that sounder. Buccaneers have officially activated Jameis Winston.
Yep.
So,
what are the chances he plays this week after Fitzpatrick throws 4 picks in the first half?
Potential. Very much potential. I mean, we knew it was going to happen, but now it is actually official.
Yep.
With smart design, premium fabrics, and simple shopping, Mack Weldon will be the most comfortable underwear, socks, shirts, undershirts, hoodies, and sweatpants, and more that you will ever wear. Not only do Mack Weldon's underwear, socks, and shirts look good, they perform well, too. Perfect for working out, going to work, going on dates, just everyday life. They even have a line of silver underwear and shirts that are naturally antimicrobial, which means they eliminate odor. And if you don't like your first pair, you can keep it, and they will still refund you. No questions asked. Look, I know that I've got some on order. I'm waiting to get it. I was able to kind of cruise their website, check some things out. It looks great, so I'm looking forward to getting a hold of it. So I'm very excited. We'll talk about it probably when it comes on a later podcast. For 20% off your first order, visit MackWeldon.com and enter promo code LIVE at checkout. That's MackWeldon.com and enter promo code LIVE at checkout for 20% off your first order. Joining us now on the phone, it is Washington rookie running back Derrius Guice. Derrius, we appreciate you making some time. How are you doing today?
I appreciate you, man. I'm doing good today. How you doing?
Good.
Good, man. Hey, Derrius, so the question everyone wants to know, how's the rehab going? How's the knee? Everything going well?
Everything's going well. Tuesday made week 6 of post-surgery, and I'm making a lot of progress. We're not rushing it. We're taking our time with it, and everything's going smooth, actually. Everything's going really well. Got all of my extension back. Got most of my rotation back in my knee as well, and everything's going well.
What about your relationship with Chris Thompson? Now, I see you guys on social media. There's definitely something going on there with you two teammates. Talk about Chris Thompson and sort of his role in this Redskins backfield because he's had a really good start to the season.
He's one of those guys that you can lean on. Whenever you have problems about something or questions about something because he's a vet in the league, and he's going through some season-ending injuries as well. So he's just one of those guys that, he's very humble. He's not selfish at all. He's willing to help. Even when you don't have questions, he's going to make sure you know what's going on and make sure you understand how important this and this is. He's just one of those guys that's a natural leader. He's a guy that, is going to latch on to you like a big brother's supposed to. And just be one of those guys that you can lean on whenever you need help with anything.
Derrius, you surprised your mom with a new car when you first got to the league. Talk about what that was like. I mean, how surprising was it? I mean, how much was that great for you?
I mean, it was all a plan all along. She deserved it. She got me to where I am today. Growing up, a single mother raising 2 boys, it's pretty tough. So I feel like, that was something she deserved, when I got drafted. And it was just something I had to do.
And so since you've joined the Redskins, you've been doing a lot of work with the D.C. community. How cool has it been to hang out with all of those Redskins fans heading into the preseason and now? Because I know you're really getting involved with a lot of good things there in the community.
It's been really cool. That's one of the things that I'm passionate about. Not just being a local star in the community. I want to actually be active. I want to be around. I don't want to be one of those guys that, that's a star and that's under the shadows all day. You know, that's not really involved and not really around. You know, I like to be involved. You know, I like doing stuff with the fans. I like having fun. I like being in the community. That's just who I am. So, you know, that type of stuff means a lot to me, you know, because that's who I am.
Derrius, I know you are a gamer. What are you playing right now?
Right now?
Like, I mean, not at this moment, but, you know, like, what like, you know, is there something, are you a Fortnite guy? I mean, what games are you into right now?
Well, I mean, Fortnite been kind of going downhill. You know, Fortnite's been really making me angry. So I've been on Spider-Man lately because it just came out. I'm waiting on Call of Duty to drop next month.
So, last question here, my man. Do you have any goals for yourself heading into 2019? And I'm talking about statistical goals. I know we want to get you back. We want to get you healthy. We saw a little bit what you could do in the preseason, and a lot of people got excited about it. Do you set statistical goals for yourself? And if you do, what are you looking to produce in 2019?
Well, first of all, I don't even do that, to be honest. And I'm just focused on my rehab right now. I'm not really looking forward to next season right now. I'm looking forward to, you know, finishing my rehab and the doctors clearing me to play in 2019.
Hey, well, Derrius, we appreciate the time. Best of luck in your continued rehab, and we look forward to seeing you back out on the field next year.
Yeah, man, can't wait.
No doubt. Appreciate you, baby. Appreciate you for having me on. Nice to see you as always.
Thanks, Derrius.
Thanks to Delirious Guice for his time. Looking forward to see him back on the field next season. Football season is underway, and I'm sure a lot of us already have major regrets about our season-long fantasy teams. I mean, it's like you spend all offseason researching, getting excited for the season, and then comes the pain. Look, that's why you should be excited to be playing on FanDuel all season long. At FanDuel, you get the excitement of researching and building your team each week. Every week is a new season, so regardless of the outcome, you get to do it all over again. FanDuel has never been more fun or easy. It's the place to play if you're not a fantasy expert. FanDuel has something for everyone, and there are more ways to win than ever before, like their Gridiron Pick'em contest every week. It's a free contest, and all you need to do is pick winners, no spreads, and $10,000 is split amongst the top pickers. New users get a $20 bonus when they make their first deposit on FanDuel, so come on and play at FanDuel.com/FantasyLive. That's FanDuel.com/FantasyLive. All right, it is week 4. We are almost a quarter of the way through the NFL.
Time flies,
season.
dude. You know what?
All right.
So I'm big into Halloween and I'm big into the holidays and stuff.
Right.
So I always decorate my place like the 1st of October, and it's this Monday. Like already.
Wow.
I'm going to have Halloween stuff up on October. It's unreal how time flies these days.
I am, by the way,
Unreal.
I saw an ad about like Christmas stuff already, right?
Yeah.
And look,
it's in Costco already.
I believe in celebrating holidays in order, right? Like
Yeah,
from
exactly.
Labor Day to Halloween to like, why do we skip Thanksgiving? Thanksgiving is great,
I know.
but we
I
somehow
love it.
skip Thanksgiving.
I'm right there with you, man.
Whatever.
I'm right there with you.
Anyway,
But we digress.
Week 4. First thing to note, 2 teams on a bye this week. Carolina and Washington on a bye. So that means, you know, no Cam Newton, no Christian McCaffrey, no Alex Smith. Or
What am I going to do without Josh Doxson?
Chris
Oh, my God.
Thompson. Yeah, so all those guys are gone this week. So you're going to have to make some adjustments potentially on your roster depending on who you may have. So we'll talk about some of these guys and possibly more. Start Jets at Jaguars. You know, the Jets had that great first week. They went out and rocked the Lions, and we're like, wow, maybe this is a new Jets team. The next couple weeks have been kind of
Jets.
Right?
Jets. It's the Jets.
So the Jets go down to Jacksonville, and they will take on the Jaguars. And Quincy Enunwa has been pretty good this year, getting a ton of targets. Has been a great PPR option. But can you trust him against that Jaguar secondary this week?
Not in a standard scoring league. I would say in a PPR league, I still think he's on the board potentially there as a flex because, well, he's still going to see opportunities. The one guy I'm not starting from that game for the Jet side of the football is clearly Robbie Anderson, who has disappeared. You know, I was in, 10 drafts, and I got Robbie Anderson maybe in like 2 of them, and I was kind of excited to get him because I didn't get him until probably the 9th or 10th round. I'm thinking this could be a value.
Right.
Sam Darnold doesn't throw the ball downfield,
He
man.
does not.
He dinks and dunks to Quincy Enunwa, so I don't feel good about that. In fact, at this point, I mean, Robbie Anderson's almost waiver wire fodder.
Yeah, you know, that's kind of surprising because, you know, he was a guy, Darnold, in college who did chuck the ball downfield. And so maybe it's just kind of a feeling out process. He's trying to get comfortable. But right now, until he starts to do that,
Yeah.
it's hard to play to Robbie Anderson.
And I'm not digging Crowell. I don't like game script potential here because I would think the Jaguars would be ahead of this game, and in the second half, the Jets are behind. It's going to be without Powell. And people may want to start Crowell because he had the 2-touchdown game last week against Cleveland. Forget about that. You're chasing the fantasy points.
Yeah, so I'd worry about the Jets at this one. On the flip side, Keelan Cole had a big game a couple of weeks ago, and I feel like we've sort of been chasing it a little bit. It didn't happen last week. I know people are still on him this week. Of the Jaguars receivers, he seems to be the best option, but I feel like that's still kind of a low bar. I mean, is Keelan Cole actually a thing, right?
See, I'm not playing him this week, and here's why. The Jets' defense is good.
Right.
Okay? They have allowed a 35.6 passer rating to quarterbacks who are targeting receivers who are split out wide. And Keelan Cole runs 70% of his routes split out wide. So if I had to make a bold prediction about this game, having to do with the Jaguars wide receivers, I think D.D. Westbrook could be a deep sleeper because Buster Screen's banged up. The Jets have not been good against slot receivers, and that's where Westbrook makes his hay. So don't be surprised if D.D. Westbrook ends up being a sneaky play maybe in DFS this week.
Interesting. Yeah, and that was the one thing coming into the season that, like, I kept saying that all the Jaguars beat reporters kept saying that, you know, there's a Jags receiver ready to break out this year. They just couldn't seem to, you know, agree on which one it was. So, that's one to watch out. Dolphins at Patriots. First things first, with the Dolphins, I mean, they've come out, they're 3-0. They are, I don't know if I can say they're a favorite to take down the Patriots because it's like, I don't know if I can buy that. But Ryan Tannehill has not been bad the first few weeks. It was pretty good last week. Is he for real? Or let's say it this way.
I was going to say for real? I don't know.
Would you stream Ryan Tannehill this week? How about we start there?
No, because I really think there's so many good quarterbacks. Even with 2 on a bye this week, there's just so many good quarterbacks. Like, I'd rather play Andy Dalton this week. I'd rather play Case Keenum, to be quite honest with you, because he's playing the Chiefs, and their defense is terrible. So I'm not a buyer right now in Ryan Tannehill. I don't have any shares in him.
Okay.
Maybe if this week bodes well for him and he puts up a good line, but typically, as I mentioned, the Dolphins go into New England and they stink up the joint.
Right.
So. Who knows? I mean, that's the past. I like to look at trends. But what I'm telling you here is that I need to see a little bit more from Ryan Tannehill than 3 games to sort of make him a must-stream player. I'm not there yet, Marcus.
Yeah, I mean, I feel you on that, especially because you look at the guys he's throwing to, right? And look, I love Albert Wilson. I am part of the Bird Alert crew. Whenever he does something, I like Kenny Stills. I still am about Devontae Parker, but whatever.
Well, we all are.
There's nobody there that you look at and you're like, man, this is a go-to target. This is a guy who's a game breaker who helps in the passing game. They just don't have that, and I think until they come up with one of those things, I think Ryan Tannehill is always kind of a mid-level just guy.
Yeah, he's had 2 or fewer touchdown passes in 5 career games in New England, which is not good.
Not good. On the quarterback on the other side. Thomas Edward Patrick Brady.
Not worried.
You're not
worried.
So you're not. Okay, that was my question. Are you worried? You're not worried, huh?
You know what? It's like, doing the podcast and the show. Like, I'm reading your mind. You're reading my mind. You're giving projections. The same thing I'm putting up there. Same thing you're putting up there on the board. It's getting a little weird. It's getting a little weird right now. It's like we got some Jedi thing going on here.
Creepy.
I had to bring in the Star Wars thing because, I'm a Star Wars dork. But I'm not buying that Tom Brady is an old man at 41. He can't get it done anymore. Look at his career numbers at home against Miami. They're spectacular. They're awesome. And soon he's going to get Julian Edelman back, right? 4-game suspension. We're in week 4. At some point, maybe this week, maybe not, very soon, regardless, he's going to get Josh Gordon in that offensive mix. If you got somebody in your league who's tired of Tom Brady, I'd buy low on him right now after he stunk up the joint at Ford Field last week.
I've just been so concerned. I don't have Tom Brady anywhere.
I don't either.
I have very few Patriots anywhere. I just, I know that if we keep saying the Patriots will fall apart, like eventually we're going to be right. But this year just feels like the year where it somehow just doesn't come together.
I think you're just trying to you're trying to make it happen by putting it out there.
Maybe I'm trying to speak it into existence.
That's what you're trying to do.
I mean, I did have my little rant about Josh Gordon the Patriots getting Josh Gordon a week or 2 ago. So I don't know. Maybe I'm trying to speak it into existence. I worry. And like this week, I know that I looked too. I think his last 2 home games against the Dolphins, he had 4 touchdowns in each of those games.
Killed them.
This is a different Dolphins secondary too, though. They've got 7 picks so far this year. I mean, they have been good. So I am keeping a close eye on Tom Brady in this one, just to kind of see if I can get a sense of what this offense is going to be. So I don't know. We'll see. Eagles at Titans. Carson Wentz came back last week and was I mean, it wasn't a great day. The weather wasn't great. Yeah, he was still kind of working his way back. The Titans' defense has been pretty good this year.
Yeah, dude.
Can you trust starting Carson Wentz this week?
I would be fading Wentz this week. I said I had him sort of at the back end of my QB ones in a 12-team league last week, so didn't love him, didn't hate him. This week, there's not a lot of Eagles I like. The Titans' defense is pretty good.
Right.
I mean, they shut down the Jaguars last week. And I get it, the Jaguars aren't this powerful offense, although they looked at the week before against the Patriots. But Wentz is a fade for me. I mean, Jay Ajayi with the back injury, you got to consider that a concern. Corey Clement is a little bit banged up as well. And Alson Jeffery, whether or not he comes back, we'll see what happens. But if he does, I'd say he's a fade for me as well. Aguilar's a risk. I say he's probably a 3. You're going to start Zach Ertz. So you would think this is going to be a low-scoring game.
I would think so. Like, I don't expect a whole lot of offense in this one, and like I said, I haven't figured out the Eagles' offense because, partially the guys have been hurt. Wentz is just getting back. We're expecting to get Alshon Jeffery back soon. I mean, Jay Ajayi has been in and out of the lineup. The running back situation has been kind of a mess because they haven't had any consistency there. So I'm wondering when they get to full strength. If they get to full strength, maybe you can trust them then. But I think I'm with you. Like, besides Ertz, I don't know that there's anybody that I'm really locked in on.
It's hard to trust anybody just yet. I mean, the offense will get going once all the pieces come back. But right now,
I mean, Kamar Aiken is their number 2 wide receiver.
There's a lot of fades for me.
I mean, man. Okay, so then are there any Titans that you believe in this week?
Jeez, we're just fading this whole game. I may not watch it.
Marcus Mariota still has like tingling in his fingers, apparently.
I mean, the dude can't even make all the throws right now. He's not 100%. Corey Davis has been affected by that. He's not. I mean, Delaney Walker's on IR. Who else are we talking about? The backfield has become a mess. Like, remember the first week, and so you should have traded me Dion Lewis because I would have gotten burned. Dion Lewis looked great in the first game. The last 2 games, they've been using Derrick Henry more, and Derrick Henry's not doing anything with the touches. So, and it's weird. Like, the Eagles are one of those teams where their defense is a lot tougher at home than it is on the road. So we'll see what happens. We saw that when they played in Tampa Bay a couple of weeks ago. But I still don't have enough confidence in Marcus Mariota's ailment and then in an elbow to start anybody that he's throwing passes to. And at running back, I mean, Dion Lewis, a flex. I would say that's it. Derrick Henry's a fade for me.
I mean, yeah, I just, the Lewis thing hurts because I was really big on him. And even Corey Davis, I was starting to kind of come around a little bit.
I love the talent, but just,
and that was my thing, is like the opportunity, the talent is there, but the offense itself does not lend to him being just a big producer. And like I kept saying, like, Corey Davis's potential depends so much on Marcus Mariota finally having the breakout season. Yep. And look, I know we're only heading to week 4 right now, so there's still a long way to go, but I don't see the Marcus Mariota breakout season coming just yet.
Yeah, he's got to get healthy, and even then, there's a lot of question marks. Losing Delaney Walker in that offense hurt.
It hurts a lot. That changes so much in that offense. Texans at Colts. You mentioned Marcus Mariota not able to make all the throws. Now, Andrew Luck is saying that he can make all the throws. This comes after last week when the Colts put in Jacoby Brissett at the end of the game to try and throw a Hail Mary. Obviously didn't work. And that certainly raised a lot of red flags for a lot of people. But Andrew Luck's trying to kind of tamp that down, saying he can make all the throws. This is important. I mean, do you believe him, or do you want to see it first?
I would like to see it. I don't like to see Jacoby Brissett come in the game and have to throw that Hail Mary when your starting quarterback is assumedly healthy. And that to me was a little bit of concern. But I think people are down on Andrew Luck at this point. I have him as a back of the line QB1 this week.
Okay.
Because traditionally he's done pretty well at Lucas Oil Stadium. If you look at the numbers, earlier in the season, week 1, he put up 18 plus fantasy points. He's put up 18 plus fantasy points in 9 of his last 11 games there. Again, he's not the elite quarterback that he was pre-surgery, but I still think he's a usable option. And if you have Cam Newton, if you have Alex Smith on buys and you're kind of hurting for a quarterback and you drafted Luck, or I've seen Luck dropped in a couple of leagues, and I grabbed him in both of the leagues because I'm not ready to give up on him yet. I still think he can put up a good line. And Marcus, what could be a high-scoring game? I mean, Right? Both of these offenses are going to be able to move the ball against the defenses, so I wouldn't be surprised if this was one of those, 28-24 games where Andrew Luck gives you 18 to 20 points.
See, I have him way down this week just because even if he says he can make all the throws, like his average depth of throw has been like 5 yards. I mean, he literally has been a captain check down. Captain Andrew Luck has been captain check down this year, and that worries me a little bit. The Colts, actually, here's the funny part about it. They haven't really missed it because the Colts, at least their secondary and their defense against the pass has been pretty good this year, so they've sort of been able to get away with it, but it concerns me.
I wonder if Luck turns into like a Ben Roethlisberger, like home road quarterback, because he was good at home the first week, and then the last 2 weeks on the road, he was really average, if not mediocre at best. So we'll see. I do think he can give you a decent stat line, though, this week against the Texans.
Anything with Houston, I mean, I feel like, all their key guys you're probably starting.
Yeah, I mean, well, you're starting. Lamar Miller is a good play this week.
Lamar Miller is, I think, a really good play this week.
So, because the Colts, as far as I can tell, since they've left Baltimore, have never been good against the run, ever. It's like every single year that I do this, it's like, Colts defense, they're not good against the run. And they've given up an average of 166 scrimmage yards and almost 30 PPR points per game to running back. So, it's Miller time.
All right. Moving on to the Bills and Packers. LaShawn McCoy says he's going to play this week. He, has been dealing with a rib cartilage injury. It kept him out last week against the Vikings. He says he's good to go. Says he's going to play. Do you play him if he's on the field against the Packers?
Oh man, I don't know, dude. Like I faded him. I have not drafted him at all. I'm not targeting him in any trades. I mean, like I haven't really wanted him. The Packers defense so far against the run, I mean, they're giving up like 22 points a game in PPR leagues to running backs. So, they're not great against the run, but they're not bad either. Man, it's hard if people out there drafted LaShawn McCoy and didn't gain backfield depth either through the draft or off the waiver wire in the last couple of weeks. But I mean, there's guys that I've picked up off the waiver wire or who were on my bench that would be playing over LaShawn McCoy this week, like Gio Bernard and like Tevin Coleman, like Chris Carson as well. I just think there's a lot of risk, and especially when you consider the nature of that injury, game script. I don't know, man. I'm probably backing down on McCoy this week.
I mean, I feel like he's one of those guys where I hate to completely sit him because,
Right, exactly.
Because, the talent and if it happens, like he can pop at any time. And so I'd hate to have that on the bench, but I don't know that I could play him as more than a flex. Mm-hmm. Like that's, I think my feeling for him is just a flex play.
Agreed.
So,
and there's no one else in
I was
Buffalo.
saying, like last week was kind of a fluke with them, right? I mean, Kirk Cousins was bad, and that helped a lot.
If memory serves me, Josh Allen rushed for 2 touchdowns, didn't throw for 200 yards, didn't really need to throw for a lot of yards because they were smoking him.
Right.
But which is still like anybody who thinks that anything that's written on the internet about fantasy football is obvious, you're an idiot. Because who saw the Vikings whooping the Bills, getting whooped by the Bills last week?
Not anybody.
Nobody.
Not a lot of people in Survivor leagues.
No doubt. So I want to see more of Josh Allen. Admittedly, I like to watch him. He's got a freaking hand cannon. I mean, that guy could throw the ball a mile. Problem is, he doesn't have a lot of weapons in the offense. So I'm interested to see what he can do this week. But the play for me that's not obvious for Green Bay is that defense. Right?
Oh, yeah. I think
rookie quarterback.
Stream the Packers.
I think
defense.
the Packers defense is certainly a streamable option this week.
By the way, pro tip, Josh Allen. I know it looks cool on film. I would stop trying to hurdle linebackers.
I know, right? Don't do that.
Just as a general rule, I would stop trying to hurdle linebackers because it worked out this time. It may not work out. Mm-hmm. With the Packers, last week, Aaron Jones comes back. We expected he was going to work into the mix. What I didn't see coming was Ty Montgomery getting all the snaps that he did.
Yeah, had a bunch of targets too.
That throws a wrench in every. If Ty Montgomery's going to start working in, I don't know what to do with this.
I mean, I like Aaron Jones so much more than Jamal Williams and Ty Montgomery, but I don't think it's going to happen.
I think this
the
is what it is.
The Packers look like they're going 3-headed monster. Joe Philbin, the offensive coordinator, at a Thursday press conference, he praised Aaron Jones for being an explosive running back, which he is. Not great in pass protection. Ty Montgomery's a better pass catcher. Obviously, he's a former wide receiver. So Mike McCarthy, I think he's happy using all 3 of these guys in some way, shape, or form week in and week out. And until someone comes out and has that big game, I don't know that we can trust any of these 3. And this is a good matchup, too. And it's wasted on this backfield.
Well, the thing about it, even if you have a guy who comes out and has that big game,
Doesn't mean he'll be the next week's big game running back.
Right, exactly.
Yep,
I mean, I don't think Mike McCarthy's gonna look at that and say, oh, well, you know what? Hey, Aaron Jones, you're the guy now. Like, I think it's just gonna stay at this rotation. And again, if Ty Montgomery's in the mix, man, this completely.
But you know how we all get excited. Especially if it's Aaron Jones and he comes out and has a huge game against the Bills.
And they'll be like,
start
Aaron Jones!
Oh, Aaron Jones!
Go trade for Aaron Jones!
And then the next week it's Jamal Williams. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Speaking of weird backfield committees, the Lions. They're in Dallas, take on the Cowboys this week. After last week, is this Kerryon Johnson's job now?
It should be. Hey, the guy rushed for 100 yards.
For the first time,
since 2013.
2013.
Thanksgiving. 2013 was the last time, and I'm guessing that was Reggie Bush.
Yes, it was.
The movie Gravity was the number one
great flick,
movie.
by the way.
Yeah,
I saw it in IMAX. It was worth it.
I did too. Yeah,
it was worth it in IMAX.
Yeah, that was great. But he looked good, and the Cowboys just gave up a hundy to Chris Carson a week ago. So Kerryon Johnson is certainly on that flex starter list, no question about that. But Marcus and I are not 100% certain that he's going to continue to see the same number of touches as he did last week. But you sort of read the tea leaves and you think, well, he looked effective. LeGarrette Blount's plodding along. Theo Riddick's not going to run the ball. He's a pass catcher, and that's his limitation. So Johnson is well worth a look, and I think that could be a high-scoring game in Dallas. The Cowboys' defense, not good last week. I think it's better than people think it is. But Lions, Cowboys, Dallas, Zeke is going to run for 150.
Zeke, I'm not worried about.
He's going to run for 150. There is no other Cowboy to start.
Right.
None.
Zeke is going to Zeke, and I wouldn't worry about anybody else.
And I think Dak, maybe he'll get you a touchdown in this game. He's not startable at this point. He's really going to – if Dak doesn't do anything with his legs, he's not going to be useful in fantasy. He's not going to be, because he's not going to go out and throw for 330 and 2 touchdowns. He's just not. It's not that offense. They don't have anybody.
It's not that offense, and I just don't.
They have no one.
I just don't think Dak is that guy either.
No,
I mean, I just I think he's a potentially good, serviceable, but not great. He has not thrown for 175 yards in a game yet this year.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
170 is his tops this year.
So, I think it could be a high-scoring affair. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be a lot of points for Dak Prescott. I think it's going to be a lot of points for Zeke Elliott, no question about that. But you're starting Zeke, and that's it in Dallas. There's no one else that you can trust. Tavon Austin, no, you can't trust him. Allen Hurns, can't trust him. None of the tight ends, you can't trust any of those guys either. So, this is sort of a heavy Detroit game. And all three of those wide receivers are startable. It's kind of like with the Rams, right? You're starting all your Rams wide receivers every single week, and you're starting all your Lions wide receivers typically every single week. Marvin Jones, who came into the game questionable last week, got into the end zone. So this is, and I get it, Stafford had Calvin Johnson, which, he was one. He was a generational talent. He was great. But, I mean, has he had better weapons, as a whole in his offense? I don't know that he has.
No, this is probably the best all-around.
Yeah, and with Babytron coming out and breaking out, and Golden Tate catching 7 balls a game, and then you got Marvin Jones who can take the top off the defense. He's got some weapons. He certainly has some weapons.
Quick update. Marcus Peters will be active for the Rams.
What?
He will play for the Rams tonight.
Wow. How about that?
So we'll see. I mean, obviously he's dealing with that calf injury. I mean, the reports on him changed so much, from him being out for a while to maybe possibly playing on Thursday to then him being out for like a month. And now he's going to play. So we'll see how that.
So now, does that change, your projection for the Vikings wide receivers?
I don't really think so. Just because, I mean, look, Marcus Peters is good, but at less than 100%, dealing with this calf injury, I feel like, look, I've never played cornerback in the National Football League, but I feel like having a healthy calf is probably important, especially when you got to deal with, Thielen or Diggs or somebody like that.
Yep.
That I don't know, just seems.
Thielen's going to put up the most points out of those wide receivers this week.
I would think so.
No doubt.
I would think so.
No doubt.
Bucks at Bears.
The Bears.
Okay, so
this is it.
Ryan Fitzpatrick.
This is it.
First half, Ryan Fitzpatrick was Fitztragic in the first half, and then Fitzmagic came back in the second half.
Yep.
Which one of those guys will we see this week?
Tragic.
Oh, well.
It's tragic.
Oh, well.
And I said this, we did a Facebook Live show right before this. And so, Marcus and I are in this, quote-unquote experts league. I don't like to really use the term experts. But
we just call it the Fantasy Live League.
Yeah.
Just call it that.
It's
Fantasy Live.
Yeah, okay, so it's 10 people who are supposed to know what the hell they're doing when it comes to fantasy football, okay? Ryan Fitzpatrick is a free agent in that league. He's a free agent.
Right.
You know why? Not one of the 10 of us believe that he's going to put up a good line this week against the Bears. Not one of us.
No.
Since the beginning of last year, they're giving up an average of right around 14 fantasy points per game to quarterbacks on their home field. And Fitzpatrick went back to being the guy that we knew journeyman quarterback, throwing picks in the first half. And then the second half came, game script. He started to throw the ball a ton. Things changed. He ended up with 24, 25 fantasy points. I just don't see that happening this week. This Bears defense is nasty, and they're at home.
Well,
I am fading Fitzpatrick. And then what are the chances that we see Jameis this week?
If he's bad, I mean, he's got to be. I think he's got to be.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, he could.
But I think he's got to be really bad considering Jameis literally just came back. Like, he's got to be like. He's got to be Nathan Peterman against the Chargers, 5 first half interceptions bad.
But what would be a really good storyline here probably won't happen. But, Fitzpatrick is in the game, either plays badly or has to leave with an injury, and Winston comes in and leads him to a W at Soldier Field.
Starts eating W's again.
Probably not going to happen, but imagine if it did.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I felt like with Fitzpatrick, I felt like last week was kind of the last week to get out of him because the defense was bad.
And that's too. So okay, like Eagles defense is good, but they're not as good on the road. It's a weird trend. It's true. But in week 1, they played the Saints, and their defense is awful, right? We thought it was going to be good. It's not good.
It's not.
And then last week, they played the Steelers, and their defense was terrible. So 2 out of the 3 games that Fitzpatrick has played, he's really had a very good matchup. So now he's got the hardest matchup he'll have all season long. And I'm fading most of my Bucks except for Mike Evans because you can't
really
not play him.
Yeah,
OJ Howard, I think you would play too because you've got you just have so few playable options at tight end that Howard is sort of a back of the line tight end 1 this week. Mm-hmm. But I mean that's it, man. That's it. Like I'm not playing anybody else. So I got a question for you.
Okay.
Bears defense.
I'm playing them.
Garbage, right? Bucks defense.
Bucks defense.
Sorry.
No, I'm not playing them.
Bucks defense. No, garbage.
I'm not playing them.
Sorry. It's been a long day, guys. I have not stopped since 6 o'clock in the morning. Bucks defense. Garbage. Mitchell Trubisky. Give me a point projection for him.
Ooh. So I think just because it's Trubisky, I can't give him a high point projection. I mean, I'm looking at like 18.
Yeah, see, I don't trust him.
I give him like 18.
I feel like that's his ceiling in this game.
That's a huge game for Trubisky.
Yeah.
18.
This is going to be a Joho game.
I can believe that.
And a Burton game.
I can believe that. And here's the thing. If especially PPR wise, like Allen Robinson, because he's just gobbling up targets.
Yeah, and keep this in mind too. Anthony Miller's hurt. Typically, he's the guy that's running out of the slot for the Bears. Robinson could end up seeing more work out of the slot. He sees some of it, not that much. But if they put A-Rob in the slot, they move him around a little bit. Boy, Tampa Bay's cornerbacks are bad, man. Their nickel corners are bad. So A-Rob could have a nice game, 15 PPR points.
Yeah.
Somewhere in that neighborhood.
Bengals Falcons. The Falcons defense has so many injuries. I mean, they kind of struggled to begin with. Now they're hurt all over the place. Are there any Bengals you wouldn't start?
I know, right? And this offense was bad last year, but their offensive line was a question mark. AJ Green, we're expecting him to play. He's a guy you're starting every week. Tyler Boyd's a flex option. I think Tyler Eifert's a back of the line tight end 1 this week. We've talked about it on the show. Andy Dalton's a streamable option because it could be a high scoring game there. So yeah, I mean, I like the Bengals and Atlanta's side. Assuming Devonta Freeman's out, Tevin Coleman is a must start.
Right.
Julio. Let's see if he can get into the end zone because Calvin Ridley's been stealing all the touchdowns in Atlanta.
And I think Austin Hooper has a touchdown. I think Mohamed Sanu has a touchdown. Yeah. I'm gonna have to go back. I didn't do it in advance, but I want to go back and I want to count all the Falcons who have scored a touchdown since the last time Julio Jones scored a touchdown.
Because he had 3 last year.
Right.
He had 3 last year.
Calvin Ridley had 3 in our game.
Yeah, our game.
Exactly. Game.
Did he have them all before the fourth quarter too? I don't remember.
Think so.
But it's insane. I don't know what Steve Sarkisian has against using Julio Jones as a red zone option or get him the football where he can make a play and take it to the house, but it just hasn't happened. And now you have Ridley emerging, and Matt Ryan's a quarterback where he's going to go to Julio Jones, but he's not going to force it to Julio Jones. And if Calvin Ridley's getting open or if Mohamed Sanu is getting open, he's going to throw it to him. And Calvin Ridley was getting open last week.
Yeah.
And he did it the week before, too. He only had only one touchdown. But that Ridley impact is not something that I saw. I clearly didn't think after 3 weeks that we'd be talking about Calvin Ridley having more fantasy points than Julio Jones, but that has come to fruition. And you're starting Julio Jones. We're not telling you not to start Julio Jones. It should be a high-scoring game. Marcus, I believe, predicts that Julio will get into the end zone this week.
That's my bold prediction.
So that's good. But there's a lot of players in this game for fantasy owners to pick from.
This is where we are, though. That's a bold prediction.
I know, it's a bold.
Score a touchdown.
And Matt Ryan. goodness.
I'm starting to believe in Matt Ryan again.
I mean, so week one,
It'll probably hurt me, but I'm going to start to believe again.
Eagles defense held them to nothing. And I said, boy, I don't trust Matt Ryan, especially on the road. I just don't. And then he's gone nuts. 70 fantasy points in his last couple of games, 8 touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns. What's with dudes who can't run at the quarterback position rushing for 2 touchdowns a game? Like Breeze did it last week, right? And Ryan has done it. So I don't know, whatever, man. But Ryan's a certain start this week, no doubt.
Seahawks at Cardinals. Remember once upon a time, like this was like a premier game. Like this was appointment television once upon a time. You're like, oh, Seahawks Cardinals. Like I gotta sit down and watch this. Not anymore.
Not anymore. Yeah.
All right. So we talked about some running back situations. Is this Chris Carson's job now?
It seems like it. He led the entire league in touches, right? Last week he had, 34?
32 rushes
They
and
finally gave it to him.
catches.
Rushed for over 100 yards against my beloved Dallas Cowboys. So that's what we're looking at. They barely used Rashad Penny in that game. So if they're going to utilize Chris Carson as the lead back, and it was the most touches a running back had since Marshawn Lynch, I believe in like 2011, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. But that's going to help the offense. If Doug Baldwin can come back, that's going to help the offense. That's why I said earlier in the week on NFL Fantasy Live, don't give up on Russell Wilson yet because he's getting his weapons back. He'll get Baldwin back. If he has a running game behind him, look out. Things are going to get much better for him. So in the matchup here against the Cardinals, who are not good against the run, Carson is a flex for me. Tyler Lockett has really been tremendous. I mean, without Doug Baldwin in there, he's giving you 14, 15 PPR points as a floor every single week. And if you look at the numbers, the Cardinals have not been good against slot receivers this season. I believe Lockett's run 62 routes out of the slot after 3 weeks. So he should eat in this contest as well. And Russell Wilson is a play for me, no doubt about that. And I think slowly you're going to start seeing Russell Wilson starting to move up at the quarterback position. Right now, it doesn't look good, but that was then, this is now, and once he gets Baldwin back in that mix, I think you're going to start seeing the elite Russell Wilson.
That's when I have to remind myself that the football season is long.
Yes.
Because I think there are times we all get caught up in this week-to-week thing, and so like I came into the season knowing the Seahawks had issues on offense and knowing that, it was going to be tough at times for Russell Wilson. And like the first week or so, I was like, okay, yeah, he looks fine. He's going to be okay. And then he had one terrible week, and now I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what to do. What am I going to do? Like, and I had to remind myself that, like, one, he looked bad. The week he looked really bad was against the Bears.
Yep.
And at this point, I think it's fair to say the Bears are going to make a lot of people look bad.
Fantasy football is so week to week. It always has been. It really is. I mean, you can go from the heights of putting up a massive stat line and being the hero for countless and fantasy owners everywhere, and then you put up a stink bomb the next week, and then we're not sure whether or not we should start you.
No, what do I do now?
But that's all part of the fun of fantasy football as well.
Josh Rosen. He is your new starting quarterback for the
I'm happy
Arizona
about
Cardinals.
that. Go, Josh.
All right, yeah. So, I mean, okay, so obviously it's great for him. Is it great for anybody else in that offense?
Compared to what they were doing with Sam Bradford.
Well,
Sam Bradford
which was nothing.
I mean, it is 4 yards per pass attempt. So, yeah, I mean, it's good. Larry Fitzgerald's still banged up. He's got the hamstring. He'll likely play because he's a warrior. I do have my concern about Fitzgerald this week. I say he's more of a 3 than he is a 2 or even a 1 in a PPR league. And I think Christian Kirk is someone that you have to watch out for. Last week he was targeted a bunch, led the team in catches. So maybe there's that rookie-to-rookie connection where Christian Kirk is someone we're talking about is picking up off the waiver wire heading into week 5. My biggest concern there still is and will continue to be David Johnson until they get him the damn football. And I was really surprised that in a game that the Cardinals were leading and they were never getting blown out, it was always close, game script was perfect for David Johnson, he didn't get as many touches as I would have liked to have seen, Marcus.
So go with me on this. I have created a narrative in my head where Josh Rosen starting is a good thing for David Johnson.
Okay.
Because one, Josh Rosen sort of has that bleep it, I'm going deep mentality. I mean, like he's been compared in a lot of ways to Jay Cutler, who definitely was the I'm going to just grip it and rip it sort of guy. So Josh Rosen, I think, has that attitude, like we saw with Baker Mayfield when he came in. Just this, screw it, I'm going to stand in here and I'm going to sling the ball down the field. Where David Johnson was most dangerous was as that downfield receiver. Because you split him out wide, he starts running these downfield routes. Now as a defense, you got to look for where number 31 is lining up. You got to figure this out. I think Josh Rosen's going to be that guy that says, you know what? This is my best weapon. This is my guy who's going to make plays for me. I'm going to try to figure out how to get the ball to him in space. And so I just have this feeling that Josh Rosen coming in. I mean, we saw how much Baker Mayfield changed things for the Browns, how much Jarvis Landry and Callaway and Njoku and all those guys became viable weapons. I've talked myself into believing that Josh Rosen could do the same thing for David Johnson.
I hope so. As someone who has stock in David Johnson this season, I do hope so. And I wanted to get Rosen on the field and Bradford off of it. I got my wish after I was yelling and screaming a couple of weeks ago. So now we shall see. But I think people forget, like 2 years ago when DJ had his breakout season, he had, it was ballpark like 640 routes run, something like that.
Right.
And he was like 130 more than the next running back in that category. They got to utilize him to his strengths. You can't just run the guy up the gut 10 times. You've got to be able to be creative with him because David Johnson could do so many things with the football. And hopefully you're right. From your lips to God's ears.
Right.
Because a lot of us out there have David Johnson and have been very disappointed so far. So hopefully Josh Rosen can sort of light that spark and get that Cardinals offense moving because they do have some relatively valuable fantasy players on that team.
Yeah, no, I mean, my mentions have been filled with David Johnson panic for a couple of weeks now.
Oh, yeah.
Browns at Raiders. Like, we're all in on the Browns now, right? At least some of their big offensive pieces, at least. And a defense.
They legit could be 3-0.
Right.
They legit. If Zane Gonzalez could make a kick, they would have beat the Saints. You know what I mean? Like in the Steelers game, okay, whatever. But like Mayfield and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that was the highest rated NFL Network game.
It may have been. I believe so.
And it wasn't because Sam Darnold was the quarterback, okay? When Baker Mayfield got into that game, everyone on social media went nuts, and everyone tuned into that game. And Baker Mayfield did not disappoint, right? He was like the headlining act. Mm-hmm. Oh, man, we're going to get the headliner tonight. And everyone watched it, and he looked good. He led them to what was it? I don't remember exactly the number of points. Maybe it was like 21
like
points in a very short number of series compared to what Tyrod Taylor had done previously. And I love watching him throw the football, and he's a gunslinger, and he takes chances, and he's accurate. That pass that he made to Jarvis Landry where Jarvis caught it over the defender, that was just awesome. And Mayfield is a guy who can run with the football, too. You look at his numbers at Oklahoma. I mean, he ran with the football, and that's big for a rookie quarterback in terms of making an impact for fantasy owners. So, yeah, dude, I'm excited. I mean, he's not in my top 10 quarterbacks. It's a wicked deep position, but he is a certain streamable option if you need a quarterback, if you're in a 2 QB league, if you're in a super flex league. Raiders are giving up like 19 a game to quarterbacks so far this season. So, man, and listen, I'm a Cowboys fan. I haven't really paid too much attention to Cleveland Browns. The only reason I really talk about them is because, well, I talk about fantasy football for a living, and The Miz is always talking about him, so I got to talk about him too there. But, like, I don't think I've been more excited to watch a Browns-Raiders game. Like, I'm so excited to see what Baker Mayfield can do with this offense.
By the way, and I know we talked about this before, but like, you know, I know people out there don't necessarily love fantasy football, and I know that, you know, sometimes shadowy league figures sort of try to downplay the value of fantasy football, but no one else is going to care about Browns and Raiders really outside of the Cleveland and Oakland areas except for fantasy football.
Dude, you know,
you
know how big fantasy football is, the ratings of the National Football League, and the importance of the development and the moving forward of the National Football League and the way people watch football. Can you imagine, like Marcus, Eddie, can you guys imagine watching an NFL game right now without having some sort of fantasy hook into this? No, man.
I mean, outside of like watching your team that you have some...
Be torture.
Dude,
I need to have some stake in the claim.
Dude, that's why it will never go away, and it's going to continue to grow. And Greg Ambrosius, one of my good friends, who's in the FSWA Hall of Fame, we talked a little bit earlier this week. I mean, you're talking about 42 to 45 million people who are playing fantasy football, and then the next sport down is like baseball, somewhere in the mid-20s. It's so huge. And anybody who doesn't get that fantasy football is so good for the NFL, whether you're a player, whether you're a writer, whether you're an analyst, whether you're just, you know, some dude flipping burgers at McDonald's, come on, you got to be crazy. It's so good for the league. Fantasy is great for whatever sport we're talking about. And so I agree with you 100%. Sorry, I just went on this.
Nope.
But I'm passionate. I've been doing this for like 20 years. And when I hear people talk about how they don't like fantasy football, you got a beep button because I was just about to swear. Go you yourself, okay? That's all I'm saying, because you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Marcus, sorry about that. Go ahead.
So, Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah, I like him.
All right, sweet.
I like him this week. I think I got him in my top 20 running backs, even in PPR leagues against the Browns, who can be had against the run.
He has been easily the most consistent thing in the Raiders' offense. I mean, like some guys have have popped in a certain week. Last week was the Jordy Nelson game. 2 weeks ago was Amari Cooper.
Are you done? Are you done with Cooper? Like, is Jordy Nelson a thing for you? Are you done with Cooper? Like, what do you think?
I never started with Cooper, and I'm not getting on board with Jordy Nelson. I said from the beginning, I was fading all Raiders. I was avoiding all Raiders in drafts. I just didn't want any part of it. There were too many unknowns. There was too much inconsistency potentially with this group. The crazy part is, looking at Derek Carr, his yardage numbers have been pretty good.
Right.
His touchdown numbers have left something to be desired. His overall fantasy numbers aren't great, but I mean, week 1, 303 yards, no touchdown, 3 picks. That's bad. Week 2, 288 yards, not bad. 1 touchdown, no interceptions, meh. Week 3, 345 yards, that's good. 1 touchdown, 2 picks, not good. I mean, so it's almost there, but not quite.
Yeah. And Jared Cook. So. And we can laugh about this next week, but he's my sit of the week at tight end. Okay, he's the second most productive tight end in PPR leagues right now, and 60% of all of his production came in that one game. The last 2 weeks, he's done nothing. The Browns have been tough on tight ends this season so far, so we shall see. But Jared Cook, he is like Lucy in the Peanuts. And if you're too young to know what the Peanuts are,
Charlie Brown,
go look him up. Charlie Brown.
Go look up Charlie Brown.
Okay? It's great stuff. But she likes to hold the football for Charlie Brown. And the second he gets close to kicking that sucker, she pulls it up. And that's what happens with Jared Cook. When you get excited about Jared Cook, he pulls the football up on you. So I don't like him this week. Which this is going to tell you how bad the tight end position is. Like, I don't like him this year, but he's still in my top 10 because
that's how bad
at
the
least
tight
he's
end
getting
spot is.
targeted in the game.
Right.
But, I mean, Cook and Marshawn are probably the only 2 plays in this game that I like. Cooper just scares me. I don't know what's happening with him 1 week to the next. Derek Carr can't play him as well. Jordy Nelson, huge game last week, might be the best game he has all year.
Fun fact, my dad has met the guy who was the inspiration for Pigpen.
Really?
Really. I was like...
Was he dirty?
Actually, yes.
He was.
So, okay, real quick story about it.
Like when he walked around, was there like a cloud of dust coming off of his head?
So my father played adult men's league baseball for a good number of years, right? Even at the point, I think I was in college, maybe not out of college, and he was still playing kind of adult men's league baseball. And Charles Schultz lived for a long time in Santa Rosa, California, up in the wine country, up in Northern California. And, a lot of the Peanuts characters that were based on kids that were friends with Charles Schultz's kids. And there was always one kid in the neighborhood who was always kind of dirty and dusty. And he grew up and he played adult men's league baseball and actually ended up on a team with my father, was a catcher. And as my dad told me, his uniform was always dirty.
Oh my God.
Even as an adult, his uniform was always dirty.
Was the jersey dirty before he started playing, or did he get it dirty during the game?
I think he got it dirty during the course of the game. But yeah, at the end of the day, and I know part of it's being a catcher, but yeah, he would always have a dusty, dirty jersey at the end of the day. So
I love stories like that. Real quick, right? So I'm going to go off the rails here, and I promise we'll get back to fantasy football. Last week, I met W. Earl Brown. Okay, who's an actor. He's been in a whole bunch of horror movies. He was in Deadwood, and he's really good friends with Wes Craven. Okay, hey, we're almost at Halloween, right? So that makes sense. So he was telling me that Wes was telling him about how he came up with Freddy Krueger, right? So when he was a kid, I guess his mom or his parents were very religious, and so they sort of made him peddle Bibles and religious paraphernalia. So he got picked on a lot as a kid. And the kid that picked on him the most, his name was Freddy Krueger, okay? And where he lived, and I believe he said Chicago, and it was over a butcher shop or something like that, he would look out his window at the corner, and there was always a guy standing on the corner.
It wasn't like a boiler room or anything?
He was wearing a red and green sweater with a fedora, and Wes Craven always was afraid that this man was going to come up into his apartment and murder him. And that's where Freddy Krueger came from.
Wow.
Okay, I'm done.
Sleep with one.
I just you inspired me to tell people that because I love horror movies, and I just thought that was cool, man. That was just so cool. Let's get back to football.
Right, I don't know how I pivot to Saints and Giants from there, but Saints and Giants, I think the defenses might get slayed in this one.
I like that one.
You like that?
Yeah, this is a scary good matchup for both offenses.
All
Let's
of
put
the
it that
offense
way.
in this game.
I even like Eli Manning. In his last 2 games against the Saints, 350-plus passing yards in both games. One of those games, I think, was the one where Breeze had 6.
a million
it was ridiculous, right? So OBJ, I want to see what happens in terms of that matchup with Marshawn Lattimore. I think Sterling Shepard, who has had 5+ catches in 2 of his last 3 games, he could be a play this week. Rhett Ellison, okay? And heck, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Whatever. I'll say I'm wrong. But I think he's a streamable option this week. Evan Ingram's week to week. He's banged up. Saints could be a lot of points in this game. I think he could do worse than start Rhett Ellison this week.
I mean, look, I feel like any tight end that has the possibility of targets is at least worth a shot. At least worth a shot. But yeah, I'm all in on your Saints, which pretty much basically means Michael Thomas, Melvin Kamara. Although I do like, Benjamin Watson, who I think is a guy in a high volume offense, can get some looks, especially in the red zone. And then all the Giants, Sterling Shepard's the sleeper. Saquon's going to get his opportunities. So yeah.
It's going to be really interesting to see what happens to this offense when Mark Ingram comes back, because this is his 4th game, so he's eligible to come back. And I mean, they're not using Alvin Kamara as a running back at this point. The guy's 20 targets last week, so that'll be interesting to see what sort of impact Ingram's presence makes on that offense.
Yeah, gonna be really, really interesting. Niners at Chargers. C.J. Beathard.
Yeah, that stinks, man. Jimmy G was on his way to having a big game. He had a big game. I mean, he had over 20 fantasy points against the Chiefs. And boy, I just feel terrible for him. I feel terrible for that organization. Really a team on the rise, not only in real football, but in fantasy football. What was the team that we talked about the most, like in the preseason, outside of like the obvious, the Steelers?
Yeah, it's probably the Niners.
Niners, right? We were all in on Goodwin. We loved him. We all thought McKinnon was going to be a thing. He blows out his knee. And now Garoppolo blows out his knee, and now you're looking at C.J. Beathard, and Goodwin's value is really deflated. If you look at the numbers in the games he played with Beathard last year, I mean, he was averaging like 2 or 3 catches a game, and that was it. It was not very good. George Kittle as well. You can't be as excited about him. I mean, Beathard's got to throw the ball to somebody.
I still think Kittle has a fairly stable floor, just because he will run some of those shorter routes, and if they want to get the ball out quickly, then Kittle potentially is the guy. But it's not what it was, and
I think it's all about the running game now.
It's a lot about the running game. Right? I think Alfred Morris has some sleeper potential this week. Mm-hmm. I think we have to at least say goodbye, or at least severely downgrade Marquise Goodwin now.
Yeah, even against the Chargers.
I don't see them going downfield enough to make him a viable. It just. Yeah, this sucks.
Yeah, and
this sucks.
Keep tabs on Keenan Allen, guys, too, because he missed practice on Thursday. So make sure that he gets into practice on Friday, at least on a limited basis. Because if he doesn't, well, then Mike Williams could end up being a really good start and a sleeper. This from Mike Florio, our researcher here, one of our researchers here. He likes Antonio Gates because the Niners have not been good against tight ends.
Against tight ends.
If you and you have to get a touchdown from him, but maybe you will. I'd say Rivers can go for 303 touchdowns in this game.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Sunday night, Ravens at Steelers. Mm-hmm. It is obviously a huge rivalry game. I'll say this. In the past, when these teams play, like it's hard hitting, it's physical. It's not always pretty.
Yeah.
But this week, I see there being some points.
Yeah, man. Me too. Yeah. How many times have I said it?
I know, right?
Ben Roethlisberger's at home. I mean, but it always happens. And by the way, I did not have him as a start or a sit last week because I didn't want to touch that game because he was on the road, but he was playing the Bucs. I'm like, I'm not talking about him. And he ended up having a good game because it was the Bucs. So, but you look at the numbers. He scored 19-plus fantasy points in each of his last 3 home games against Baltimore, including a game where he had 6 touchdowns in 2014. Baltimore gave up 26 points to Andy Dalton on the road back in Week 2, so you're starting him. Antonio Brown, duh. Juju, duh. But here's my question, and Connor, duh. So we talk about a lot of confusing backfields in the league, right? All the time. Who the hell do you start from the Colts or the Packers?
Baltimore,
whatever.
Man.
No. Steelers tight ends. One week it's Jesse James, last week it's Vance McDonald, and the matchup is good, and I don't know who the hell play.
I still think it's Vance McDonald because he's the guy that I was on at the start of the season, but because he was hurt, he wasn't there, and Jesse James slid in. But I think of the two, I think he is more their top line pass. Vance McDonald had some moments when he was in San Francisco where he sort of flashed a little bit. So I still think he is the primary guy. That's the guy that I would target the most. I mean, I know it has been confusing, but I think a lot of that was because McDonald was still sort of working his way back from injury. But now that he looks like he's a little bit healthier, I think he's going to be the guy. But you did say confusing. And the Ravens backfield, I don't understand what you guys are doing. Alex Collins has played well, right? I know he had a couple fumbles in week 1, but he has played well. He runs hard. He actually is a decent pass catcher out of the backfield. Yet they keep putting Buck Allen in there, right? And the thing that frustrates me the most about Buck Allen is that he will not, for the life of him, break a tackle. He just cannot do it. I don't know. Like, I watch him catch the ball or get a handoff and run, and the first bit of resistance he meets, he gets stood up and or pushed back. And I can't, for the life of me, understand why. And, like, I know earlier in the week, John Harbaugh came out and praised him and said, he's the kind of guy we want, and he's doing all these great things, and we think he's a top-notch back. And I'm like, what? Like, how? I just don't get it. And he keeps kind of just coming in and gobbling up opportunities, getting snaps, getting touches. I'm looking at this right now, right? Alex Collins averaging 4.5 yards per touch. Buck Allen averaging 3.5 yards per touch, but yet he's the one with 4 touchdowns, and Alex Collins has only 2. I don't get it. Yeah. I don't understand.
And what has he got? 4 touchdowns?
4
Buck Allen touchdowns. So what's weird is that the guy who we thought was going to be the third down back, the complement back, is stealing the touchdowns from the guy that we thought was going to be the goal line back and the early down workhorse. Welcome to
I'm just looking at
football.
this. Alex Collins, 34 carries, 116 yards. Buck Allen, 16 carries, 32 yards. Like, that's not good.
No.
Then on the other side, Alex Collins has 67 receiving yards on 7 catches, which, all right, it's almost 10 yards a reception, right? Buck Allen, 70 yards on 13 catches. Like, I don't get it, man. I mean, and John Harbaugh, I know you listen to the show, John Harbaugh.
So I'm sure he is.
Why do you do this to us? Why?
Another guy I like in this game on Baltimore side is John Brown.
Oh, yeah, man.
Who's been really underrated, and he could be available in some leagues out there for people who are in leagues with those who are not paying attention. But he's a guy that you look at and you're like, oh, he's got to be like a slot receiver kind of thing. But he's actually run 92 of 123 routes split out wide. So you look at the Steelers. They get crushed. Okay, they've given up 5 touchdowns already to wide receivers who are split out. So he's a good play this week. And another sleeper for you, okay, Willie Snead. Because if you look at what the Steelers have done against slot receivers, it has not been good. And Snead has been Baltimore's slot receiver. So don't be surprised if Willie Snead gets in the end zone at Heinz Field, and it should be a high-scoring game.
I feel like he's been quiet, but he's been productive. And it's just been, I can get down with that. I like Willie Snead. He's kind of been quiet because I think John Brown's kind of taken a lot of the shine in that offense. But
I think he has 1 touchdown.
He does have a
year.
touchdown.
I think he has 1 touchdown.
He's got a touchdown.
Yeah, so
12 catches on 19 targets. Yeah, he's not a bad play.
Yep.
Monday Night Football. The Kansas City Chiefs go to Denver to take on the Broncos in a big AFC West matchup.
Yep.
And for Patrick Mahomes, maybe his first real big test. He goes on the road into a really hostile environment to face a good Broncos secondary. So I feel like that means just like only 3 touchdown passes?
Yeah, I know, right?
Like 5 or whatever?
Yeah, and you say, oh, well, he's already played a game on the road. Guys, he played in a soccer field with like a stadium that was half full of Chiefs fans.
Right, like playing at the StubHub Center right now is not really a road game.
Yeah, I mean, dude, like
it's 27,000 seats. The visiting team's dominating it.
Yeah, I mean, so this is the real first test that he's had. I had him listed as my start of the week this week, and some people on Twitter who shall not be named here started taking some shots. And you know what, guys? Patrick Mahomes was not drafted as a QB1. People have Rodgers and Mahomes. They have Brady and Mahomes. They have Watson and Mahomes. They have a number 1, and then they drafted Mahomes probably after the 9th or 10th round. And Patrick Mahomes should be started ahead of everyone, okay? He's had 3 great games in his entire career. Real good. But he's better than every quarterback in the National Football League right now, including, and Ryan Fitzpatrick actually has more points, but Mahomes should be started over everyone until he starts to slow down, which I don't know if that's going to happen, even against the Broncos. And I get it, their defense is not as great as it once was. They still have Von Millers, they still have talent, and you go into that hostile environment. That's part of what's difficult for a young quarterback, to go in and play a team that has got the crowd behind them. This is going to be the toughest road game he's ever had.
This is going to be the big.
And I still think that he is a must start, like more than Rodgers, more than Brady, who I really like this week, more than Russell Wilson, more than Deshaun Watson. He's the guy to play. And until he slows down, and again, I don't know that that's going to happen, but until he slows down, he needs to be in your lineup regardless of who you got, the quarterback position. In fact, if I have Patrick Mahomes and I have one of the elite quarterbacks in the National Football League, I am looking to see what team has a crappy quarterback situation in my league, and I'm trying to trade Aaron Rodgers or Brady or Watson, whatever it is, and I'll ride with Mahomes right to my fantasy playoffs.
It's kind of weird because this has been a year where like there have been quarterbacks that you can trade. It's normally hard to trade quarterbacks, but for people who have Mahomes and another,
he's like
guy,
he's like a game changer.
It has changed it.
Like Watson was last year, right? Like I remember I was in a league where I had really good running back depth, and I think I ended up trading Christian McCaffrey to get Watson, but I had 2 stud running backs. And I had no problem doing it because I was good at running back. And then I got Deshaun Watson, who's giving me 27 a game. And Mahomes is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I think the most impressive thing about this kid is that he hasn't thrown a pick. And he does not crumble. He has been tremendous. And, I mean, the pace is ridiculous. I don't know if he's going to keep up the pace at this level, but he's going to be pretty damn good. And Matt Money Smith talked about this earlier in the week on NFL Fantasy Live. When you have a quarterback who's that good, who has that many weapons, and plays on a team with a crappy defense, dude.
And
that's fantasy points right there.
That's the biggest thing is because that defense is bad, so they're going to have to keep slinging it.
Yeah.
So, that's going to be one of them. Philip Lindsay last week had an early exit.
Yeah, he wanted to fight.
Because he turned into likes to fight guy, allegedly.
Yeah, he must have seen the Creed 2 trailer and was like, I'm excited.
Allegedly, he threw a punch. That was enough to get him run, so we didn't see much of him. But he's back this week. The Chiefs' defense is bad.
Yep.
Are we back on the Philip Lindsay train?
I mean, I'd flex him. I don't think he's an RB2. I guess I would flex Royce Freeman, too, because I don't want to give up. It was funny, too, Eddie, because like last week, I was like, oh, man, he's playing the Ravens, and I don't know what's going on, and he's not getting the touches. And then Lindsay, start throwing hands, and Freeman scores a touchdown and a pretty good game. So we'll be certainly watching that. But yeah, Marcus is right. The Chiefs' defense is bad. So I wouldn't be surprised if either one of these guys put up a good stat line.
Would you start Case Keenum? Because like he's been so even against good matchups. Like he hasn't been great. Would you take a chance on Case Keenum if you are looking to stream quarterbacks this week?
You can do worse. I think he's a DFS option because the Chiefs have just been.
Awful.
They've been bad.
They've been awful.
They've been really bad. I get it. They played Garoppolo and they played Rivers. They've just been really bad. So I think he's a DFS option. He's not a guy that's going to cost you a whole heck of a lot. Mm-hmm. And again, when you look at the numbers, this defense and Eric Berry's still hurt, so it's not like they're going to get better. There's been reports that maybe they want to go after Earl Thomas, which would take me off because I'm a Cowboys fan and I want him. But whatever. But they're giving up 30 points a game. What is Keenum's floor? 17, 18? Right?
I don't know. I thought that a couple weeks ago, and he got me like 14 and a half.
No, I get it. Case Keenum is clearly not a guy who's like Mr. Reliable, but just even, think about game script too. Like if the Chiefs do what they've been doing and they get ahead and Keenum's got to throw the football, Chiefs can't stop anybody, so we'll see.
Right. All right, so there it is. It's our Week 4 preview. Go out. Prosper. Thank us later. Introducing Audible Originals, a new member benefit. Audible Originals are exclusive audio titles created by celebrated storytellers from worlds as diverse as theater, journalism, literature, and more. Every month, Audible members get 1 credit for any audiobook, plus 2 Audible Originals from a changing selection that you can't get anywhere else. You also get access to audio fitness and health workouts created exclusively for Audible. Audible has the largest selection of audiobooks on the planet, which lets you fill your fall with more stories like, pick a football book. I know Low Collision Cross is a favorite of our friend Chris Westling here, so go check that out. Get your knowledge on. Learn some more about some football. Listening with Audible lets you get more books in your life because with the free Audible app, you can enjoy them anytime, anywhere, at home, at the gym, commuting, doing chores, anywhere. Plus, your books are yours to keep. With Audible, you can go back and re-listen anytime, even if you cancel your membership. Get your first audiobook free and choose 2 titles from a curated list of Audible Originals when you try Audible for 30 days. Visit audible.com/NFL Fantasy Live or text NFL Fantasy Live to 500-500. That's AUDIBLE.com/NFL Fantasy Live or text NFL Fantasy Live to 500-500. All right. We've gone to that part of the week. It's the part that we all love.
Yep.
It is time for Eddie's Delirious Pick.
Yeah, buddy. I love it.
All right, so what you got this week?
Well, for those counting, so far I'm 0 for 2.
Yeah, but they're like bold predictions.
Yeah,
so, like,
They are very bold,
Right.
and I feel like I might be 0 for 3 after this one. But
Well, yeah, at least you're confident.
Baker Mayfield versus Oakland
Okay.
will outscore Aaron Rodgers versus Buffalo this week.
Woo!
And
I
my
like that
reasons
one.
why. Well, you could look at it this way. With Buffalo coming off the hot streak, they finally got the win. I call it a hot streak. But they're feeling better about themselves. They finally won. His knee's still banged up, so he's going to lose the points of being mobile. Not typical Aaron Rodgers there. I could see a scenario where Buffalo plays them tough. On the flip side, if they get to an early lead, then they could just, I don't know, run the ball, run the clock out, and when they already beat up on Buffalo. But for Baker Mayfield's side, I saw that he was like an 8-9 point differential between Rodgers on certain sites. So I don't think that's that far of a spread. And when he came in, he was electric. Oakland's defense is pretty bad. I think that Oakland's offense though has been okay. So I could still see them scoring some points on Cleveland if they don't turn the ball over. But yeah, I wasn't originally on the Baker Mayfield train, but I think he's gonna have like a shocking. His first full start, I think he'll have a pretty good game. So I have him outscoring Aaron Rodgers this week.
I like it, man. I like that one. That's
I think
good.
It's definitely bold. Look, here's the thing. And I don't know if that he outscores him, but I think he has a big game. And I think that's kind of the point, right? Like, he held out and has a huge game this week against the Raiders. Mm-hmm. What he showed last week, man, he looks like a game changer back there.
Dude, it was. Cleveland hadn't been that electric since LeBron and the Cavs won the championship.
Right?
Right? I mean, it's so funny because my buddy Jason Smith, now from Fox Sports, is a big Jets fan, and Elliot Harrison and I called in and basically made believe that we were like these two drunk Cleveland fans who just left the stadium, and we saw them beat the Jets, and they haven't won in 300 whatever days it was,
like 635
whatever the hell it was,
days, yeah,
and they beat the Jets. It was great, but just watching the footage, like the streets of Cleveland, it was like they just won a championship. It was awesome. I loved it.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. I mean, good for them.
I think it'll continue.
I think I think they win again this week, and I will tell you what: if the Raiders go to 0-4, man.
Ooh, well, Gruden's still getting $100 million, so
I'm gonna have to start texting my folks still in the Bay Area and ask them how they feel, because it's not going to be great.
Yeah.
Before we get out of here, of course, it is time for the mailbag. Eddie, you got some tweets for us?
We got a lot. Thanks again to all those who tweeted in. Hopefully, I'll pick yours next week if I didn't get to it this week. Start off, we have at LaMiracle asked you guys, more sustainable wide receiver, Godwin or Lockett?
I would say Lockett, just because I think he will get more targets. Even when Baldwin comes back, that means he drops to the number 2 receiver in the offense. Godwin right now, I think, is a solid 3rd or 4th option in the passing game in Tampa. And plus, I don't know, I guess I just believe in Russell Wilson more than I believe in Jameis or Ryan Fitzpatrick.
I'd probably go at Lockett too, but man, Godwin is a guy I liked.
I like him a lot.
I really liked him, and he's been good. He hasn't had one bad game, but Lockett to me is the call here.
Yeah.
At DBlake _ do I start Brady or Big Ben for week 4?
Oh man, Go ahead. I mean, I'd go Big Ben, but
I think I would too.
Brady's he's a great.
I mean, they're both at home,
Yep.
but Ben at home is a thing.
It is a thing.
I think I go Ben here.
At Almighty _ MVP asks, David Johnson, LaShawn McCoy, or Aaron Jones?
What, one of those?
Yeah.
I gotta go David Johnson.
Yeah, I gotta go DJ.
I know I know it hurts.
Gotta do it.
I know it hurts, but I go DJ.
All right, here, and we have at Sassy Girl Sugar.
Okay.
Wants to know if you would trade Corey Davis for Tyler Boyd.
Would I trade Court? I would, yeah. If I'm getting Tyler Boyd back in return right now, I would.
I would agree.
I just, as much as I love Corey Davis, I just don't see it happening in that Titans offense right now.
Yep.
So.
And to end it here, we have at Cy Cloquella asks, I just got Michael Thomas straight up for Zeke. Was it a good trade?
I think it is, yeah.
It really depends on scoring system and sort of the situation, because if you were getting Thomas and you really needed a wide receiver but you had good running backs, then, yeah, it makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah. So, I think look, here's the thing. Very few trades, I think, in fantasy there's some that are just like crazy lopsided, but generally, so much of it depends on your roster construction and what you need and that sort of thing. But generally, I think most trades are generally kind of fair. So there you go. Anyway, that'll do it for the show. We appreciate you listening as always. Thanks to Derrius Guice for stopping by and chatting with us for a few minutes. And always remember, never let your friends feel lonely. Disturb them all the time. We'll see you on Monday.